This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with winemaker J.L. Groux at Stratus, Niagara-on-the-Lake. How are you today, sir?
Excellent. Beautiful day. Great time for picking grapes in November.
So, speaking of grapes, we are here today to speak specifically about Cabernet Franc or Cab Franc.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you what your first experience was of producing wine from Cabernet Franc.
Producing wine from
Yes.
Cabernet Franc. Really? It was in the Loire Valley many years ago, 35, 40 years ago. And it was making a light, easy drinking Cab Franc, we're not working in Chinon. I had a great friend in Chinon and spent a lot of time drinking Chinon, but I was working more in the Anjou area where they make a Cab Franc a bit lighter style. So that's when it started, and then I dropped then, went in Muscadet, and then ended up in Bordeaux, and then ended up here in Canada where I reconnected with Cab Franc and is more and more connected with it. Now 1/3 of our vineyard at Stratus is really Cab Franc. And we are into Cab Franc up to our ears right now as we are picking and sorting and fermenting and cap management. It's all about Cab Franc nowadays.
Has Cabernet Franc always been so close to your heart, or is that something you have really developed whilst being in Canada?
I think I redeveloped it being in Canada, discovering how great of a variety it is, well adapted to the climate. It's loved by winemakers, loved by viticulturists, and soon to be loved by consumers and more. And so that's what we're moving. Everywhere you go, some places, you go even in Chile, in Argentina, in the United States, there's more and more talk about Cab Franc. And this is certainly a very well adapted variety to our climate. I was surprised when going in, for example, California. Most places in California is not doing great Cab Franc. They have problems about green character because it ripened too fast, where Cab Sauvignon is doing well there. Here, Cab Franc is doing fantastic.
What would you say typifies a classic Ontario Cabernet Franc?
Well, classic Cab Franc in Ontario is fairly ripe. We are about 500 kilometers south in latitude from the Loire Valley. We have more heat units from flowering in June to the end of September, let's say. So that helps us making things riper, and we have this additional bonus of being able to ripe grapes all the way to the end of November if we need to. And that's because it's too cold for fungus to grow and rot, but it's warm enough to keep maturing. And that's what we have been doing this year, the cool, late year, where we are making great Cab Franc because we have been patient and we are picking it now at the end of November.
In the glass, what kind of aromatics and flavours are most typical for a cold climate Cabernet Franc like the ones you make here?
Well, typically you have fairly ripe fruit, white pepper, a lot of black currant, blackberries, some bit of spices, but not as much as Cab Sauv, but the complexity is more into violets, red, black fruit, as I said, but beautiful mouthfeel. That's one of the characteristics of Cab Franc. It starts very, very round. It's still a wine for food. It's structured. It can age 10 years or more. But what's different, maybe with the Loire Valley, you have maybe less of a green character. It's still there. We're in cool climate. We still have a bit of that, but it's really more fruit-driven, the Cab Franc from Ontario.
In the vineyard, what kind of clones have you most experience with here in Ontario?
We have 2 clones, and we did a lot of research, and we still have these 2 clones. Clone 214 seems to do the best job, but it's nice to have a variety of clone, but more importantly, we have 14 different blocks of Cab Franc here. So different subsoil, different microclimate, microsoils, and different slopes even. So funnily enough, speaking about this vineyard, we have some areas that are going a bit down, and that makes a difference at the end of the day. So these 14 blocks that we have all have their own characteristics, and we try to keep them as separate as possible in the winery all the way to bottling.
Speaking of soils, what kind of soils does Cabernet Franc prosper in the most?
I will not say sandy soil. You can make Cab Franc and sandy soil, but it makes a lighter Cab Franc style. So what we have is clay loam here, and we have some areas of our sub-blocks, if you want, which is more clay, more loam, and that makes big differences in the style of Cab Franc you make. So between the clones and the soil and the microclimate that we have, there is a diversity of Cab Franc growing in this small vineyard.
And when it comes to viticulture, what have you learned Cabernet Franc really enjoys with regards to taking care of the vine in the vineyard?
Well, like all grapes, it's enjoyed dry and sunny and no rain. Cab Franc enjoy long fall because it's a late picking variety, and that's what we have here in Canada. And in fact, more and more, I've been here for 30 years. And a period of 30 years, I find one thing: fall are getting warmer, longer, and even November is getting something of interest. Sometimes we have some deep frost, but that's no big deal. We'll survive that. We're used to it. But more importantly, is days like today where it's plus 10 in November. That makes a difference. And a blackberry under the sun, even if it's cool outside, it's very warm inside the berry.
What are the biggest challenges when it comes to creating quality Cabernet Franc wine in Ontario?
Being patient. So picking late, let the vineyard do the job, let nature do the job. That's why I didn't pick 2 weeks ago, like most of people in Ontario are always anxious, are always worrying about what could happen to the grapes. I did learn over so many years that being patient really pays, and I like the kind of lazy winemaking style, so I just let nature do the job.
So you just finished picking your Cabernet Franc this morning, I believe.
Yeah, we just finished picking Cab Franc this morning. That was a long journey of patience, and now we are finishing sorting our Cab Franc. So we have a lot of work sorting Cab Franc. We have a new optical sorter that helps us do things we can't do with our own eyes because it works with infrared and is able to differentiate quality differences that the naked eyes couldn't do. As well, we are now today, so we have a very special project. We are filling up individual barrels with grapes, which is unusual. You have to have special barrel with a special opening, and we only do that when we have a great year, and we only do that to make super premium Cab Franc. So I have great hope of what we are putting in these barrels right today.
And how does Cabernet Franc respond to differences in vintage? Is that something that's very apparent in the final wine?
It does, like any grapes in cool climate, but there's one thing I would say about Cab Franc: is very regular producer. You know, we always can make Cab Franc whatever year we are in and out, cool year, warm year. Cab Franc is very consistent year after year, so that's very encouraging for our consumers to be confident when you buy a Cab Franc from Ontario. It's going to be consistently interesting, and you don't, you know, some other varieties have more variation than Cab Franc, so that's one of the reasons people love it, because of that consistency in the vineyard and in the winery and in the glass.
Fantastic. J.L., thank you for talking with us at Good Food Revolution today about one of your favorite grapes, Cabernet Franc.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.